The courtroom buzzed with tension as Elon Musk took the stand. The judge, a stern-faced man with years of experience, peered down at him with thinly veiled amusement. The case was unusual, something about regulatory overreach, tweets that moved, markets, and, as always, Musk's refusal to play by the rules. "So, Mr. Musk," the judge began, adjusting his glasses, "do you always believe you're above the law, or is that just for Twitter?" The courtroom chuckled. Even the stenographer smirked. Musk tilted his head, lips curling in that trademark smirk. "I prefer laws that make sense," he said. The judge let out a short laugh, flipping through the papers before him. "Well, that's convenient. Unfortunately for you, this court operates on existing laws, not ones you find sensible." The laughter in the room grew. Musk remained composed, tapping his fingers on the table. His attorney nudged him, whispering something, but Musk didn't acknowledge it. Then, without breaking eye contact, he reached into his pocket. The laughter faded as a flash of metal caught the light. He placed it on the table, small, sleek, and unmistakable. A United States Secret Service badge. The judge stopped mid-sentence. His face, once smug, went pale. The prosecutor stiffened. The room, once filled with snickers, fell into eerie silence. Someone coughed in the back. The reporters in the front row leaned forward, cameras ready, fingers hovering over keyboards. The judge swallowed hard. "Where exactly did you get that?" Musk leaned back as if the entire room hadn't just shifted in atmosphere. "Classified," he said, voice even. The judge's hands trembled slightly as he adjusted his robe. The energy in the room had changed from mockery to raw uncertainty. The court officers, once relaxed, stood at attention. Even Musk's own lawyer seemed caught off guard. A reporter whispered to another, "What does this mean?" No answer came. The UACO judge cleared his throat. "We will need to recess." Musk simply nodded. The judge banged his gavel, but the usual commanding crack felt hollow. He stood, nearly knocking over his water glass, and hurried toward his chambers without another word. The prosecutor hesitated, glancing at the badge still sitting on the table, then quickly followed. The gallery erupted into murmurs, speculation running wild. Musk leaned back in his chair, unfazed, fingers interlocked behind his head. His attorney, clearly blindsided, whispered, "Elon, what the hell is that? Are you actually involved with—" Musk cut him off with a glance. "Let's just say," he murmured, "not all missions are public." Court security looked unsure of what to do. Two officers exchanged glances, one of them slowly reaching for his radio but stopping halfway, uncertain. The weight of the moment hung over the room like an impending storm. 15 minutes passed. The judge returned, his face noticeably paler. He sat down, adjusted his robe, and cleared his throat again. When he finally spoke, the courtroom leaned in. "The court has been advised to reconsider certain elements of this proceeding." His words were careful, deliberate. Gone was the smugness, the superiority. "In light of new information, I will be reviewing the case further before we proceed." Musk simply smiled. "Wise choice." The prosecutor stood abruptly. "Your Honor, this is highly irregular. We need to understand what—" The judge shot him a sharp look. "That will be all for today." Another bang of the gavel. Court adjourned. Musk stood, retrieving the badge, slipping it back into his pocket like it was nothing more than loose change. The reporters scrambled, shouting questions, cameras flashing wildly. He walked past them, past the confused court security, past his own lawyer's dumbfounded expression, and out the heavy wooden doors into the world beyond. No one knew what had just happened, but everyone knew one thing. Elon Musk had just reminded them that the rules don't apply the same way to everyone. Outside the courthouse, chaos erupted. Reporters swarmed like a tidal wave, microphones thrust forward, cameras flashing wildly. "Mr. Musk, what was that badge? Are you working with the government? Does this have anything to do with SpaceX's classified projects?" Musk didn't break stride. He slid on his sunglasses, the faintest smirk tugging at the corner of his lips. His security team formed a protective barrier, but the world had already seen enough. The image of that badge was seared into every journalist's mind, every camera lens capturing what should have been impossible. Somewhere in the frenzy, a reporter shouted, "Are you an agent?" Musk paused. Just for a second. Just enough to make them wonder. Then, without a word, he climbed into the back of his Tesla Cybertruck, the door sealing shut with a futuristic hiss. The vehicle pulled away in silence, the mob left behind in a whirlwind of speculation. Back inside the courthouse, the judge sat in his chambers, fingers pressed against his temples. He hadn't stopped shaking since Musk pulled out that badge. The prosecutor stormed in. "What the hell just happened?" he demanded. The judge exhaled sharply. "I don't know. But I know one thing. We're not touching that case." "That's insane. He can't just—" The judge slammed his hand on the desk. "You don't understand. There are forces at play here we do not question." His voice was barely above a whisper. "If he has that badge, it means he operates in spaces we don't have clearance to know exist." The prosecutor stared at him. "You mean, like intelligence? Some kind of black project?" The judge didn't answer. He didn't have to. Meanwhile, in the back of the Cybertruck, Musk gazed out at the city skyline, the weight of 1,000 unspoken truths resting in his eyes. His phone vibrated. A single message. "Stand by for further instructions." He smirked, then deleted it. The city lights blurred past as the Cybertruck moved through the streets, silent and efficient. Inside, Musk sat with one hand tapping against his knee, the other scrolling through encrypted messages on a custom-built device. Far more secure than any commercial phone. Another message appeared. "Debrief at Euro 300. Location secured." He chuckled softly. They never sleep. His security detail sitting across from him pretended not to notice. They had long ago learned not to ask questions, not when it came to things like this. Meanwhile, back at the courthouse, the internet had already exploded. Twitter, news sites, conspiracy forums, everyone was scrambling to make sense of what had just happened. The phrase, Elon Musk USSS badge, was trending worldwide. Some believed it was a stunt. Others were convinced Musk was tied to deep government operations. A few even suggested he was a time traveler or an alien. The real truth? That was something only a handful of people would ever know. At exactly 0300, Musk stepped into a nondescript building in an unmarked part of the city. Inside, waiting in the dimly lit room, were 3 men. No names, no introductions. Just the quiet hum of a high-tech security system sealing the doors behind him. One of the men slid a folder across the table. "You handled yourself well today." Musk picked it up, flipping through classified documents, satellite imagery, and something that looked suspiciously like schematics for technology not yet known to the public. He smirked. "I usually do." The man across from him nodded. "Then you understand the next step." Musk leaned back, fingers drumming against the table. "Let's just say," he said, his voice smooth, "the future is already here." The lights flickered. For half a second, and somewhere far beyond the reach of public knowledge, something massive shifted into motion. Deep beneath the surface of public knowledge, gears were already turning. The men in the room sat in silence as Musk flipped through the folder, his expression unreadable. The satellite images showed something unusual. Massive structures in remote locations, strange energy readings that didn't align with anything known. Musk tapped one of the images with his finger. "This confirms it." The man across from him, dressed in an unmarked suit, barely reacted. "We need an accelerated timeline." Musk chuckled. "You always do." The third man, the quietest of the group, finally spoke. "What happened in court today cannot happen again." His voice was level, but there was an edge to it. Flashing that badge nearly compromised everything. Musk leaned forward. "Did it?" His smirk returned. "Or did it send a message?" Silence. Then, the man in the suit exhaled. "The public is watching now." "They always are," Musk said. He closed the folder and slid it back across the table. "The question is, what will we let them see next?" The men exchanged glances. Decisions were being made without words. The quiet hum of unseen technology filled the air, monitoring, recording, ensuring everything stayed controlled. Finally, the first man nodded. Proceed with Phase 3. Musk stood, straightening his jacket. Good. I was getting bored. As he turned to leave, the quiet man spoke again. One more thing. Musk paused. The man's gaze was sharp. There's been an anomaly. He slid a separate file forward. We need you to look into it. Musk glanced down. Inside were grainy but unmistakable images, something hovering over one of SpaceX's remote testing facilities. Something not made by human hands. For the first time in a long time, Musk's smirk faded. He picked up the file, staring at it for a moment before slipping it under his arm. Without another word, he walked out, the security doors sealing behind him. He stepped back into the night. He looked up at the sky. The stars blinked back at him, and somewhere, in the vast unknown, something blinked back.